So now that we've decided what type of game we want to build, how we want to do the basic movement, and what type of engine we're going to use, it's time to start making this game, right? So where do we start? Well, we start with the ability to create levels on the map. And this allows us to come up with features along the way and perfect our chosen art style. So this time I want to talk a little bit about the dungeon creator and how it really fits in our game, because basically we're now combining multiple genres. But first, let's recap a little bit about what Spire contains. As you all know, we're creating a 2D tactical RPG game that is set in a dystopian medieval world with a little bit of a science fantasy twist. The game will have a strong focus on dungeon exploration, and to add on top of that, we will allow players to create their own dungeons with our dungeon creator and design their own levels and design their own challenges. In addition to the dungeon creator, we've decided that the game will also feature a strategy city building element, where players can set up their own camp and manage various aspects of their team and equipment. This will include selling items, buying items, upgrading weapons and armor, and recruiting new adventurers to join their team. One of the key gameplay mechanics in the game will be turn-based combat. This is where players will really need to strategically plan their actions and coordinate their team to defeat enemies and overcome specific obstacles. The game will feature a variety of different enemies, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses, and players will need to adapt their strategies accordingly. As players progress through the game, they will encounter a variety of different environments and challenges, each with their own unique gameplay mechanics and puzzles. The game will have a strong emphasis on exploration, with hidden treasures and secrets to discover in every corner. But after a while, players will have explored everything, and that's where the dungeon creator really comes into play. One of the key tools that we're using to create the game's dungeons is Godot's built-in tile maps. This system allows us to easily create and manage tile-based game worlds, where each tile is a discrete element that can be placed and manipulated using a variety of tools and functions. Each single one of those tiles consists of its own data and its own piece of its art on its own layer. So a couple of things are really important right now. We have to make this look and feel really interesting and fun to use. We need a looping background soundtrack. We need a small animation when picking up and placing assets. We need a little sound effect to go with that. We need a clear and easy to use UI, and code-wise, we really need a state machine. So a state machine is where we can determine what state the dungeon creator is on. When a user decides to move assets around, you don't want your previously selected tile to constantly be placed everywhere, and you also don't want to uncheck the asset first before moving something else. This is something that we handle in the state machine. Whenever you select to place an item, the state machine will switch from moving an item, for example, to placing items, and that will tell the rest of the code what specific actions it can and can't do. Because placing a tile will be the same action as picking up a tile or even dropping that tile. But you want deleting the tiles to be the same action as placing the tile. And all the player has to do is select whether they want to start placing the tile, moving the tile, or deleting the tile. When using the dungeon creator, players will be able to select a specific layer on the tile map, such as a ground layer or a wall layer. And they will all be presented with a set of specific assets that can be placed on the tiles in that layer. Not all assets can always be placed on all locations, since the game will actively check whether an asset already exists on that tile location on a specific layer below or on top of that. This ensures that you cannot put a monster on top of a wall, for example. These assets will include various interactable objects, such as levers, traps, enemies, but also static objects, such as rocks, trees. The interactable assets that players place on the tiles will be fully functional and work out of the box. That means that they will be able to trigger events, deal damage, or open doors as soon as they are placed. This will make it a lot easier for players to create complex and engaging dungeon layouts without needing to worry about technical details or asset functionality. To ensure that the players can test their dungeons as they are being created, the Dungeon Creator will allow players to test play their dungeon inside the Dungeon Creator before minting it. This means that the players will be able to test out their creations as they build them, allowing them to refine their designs and adjust their strategies as needed. In addition to placing static objects and interactable assets, players will also be able to place monsters in the dungeons. To do this, players will simply need to select a monster from the available options and place it on the tile map in the desired location. When a monster is placed on a tile map, it will automatically be given a set of default behaviors and properties. For example, the monster may have a specific movement or pattern or a specific attack behavior that is determined by its type and level. Players will also be able to customize these properties and behaviors by adjusting various settings and parameters. For example, players are able to adjust the strength and health of the monster, or specify its attack patterns, or create a special ability. Players will also be able to test the behavior of these monsters straight away by playing the dungeon and observing how the monsters behave. This will allow players to adjust their strategies and custom settings as needed in order to create challenging and engaging combat encounters. Players will also be able to place their character party location in a dungeon. This will be the starting point of the player's adventure and will determine where the characters will begin the journey of their dungeon. To place the character party location, players will need to select the party location asset from the available options and place it on the tile map in the desired location. Once that player location has been placed and the settings have been adjusted, just like with the interactable assets and just like with the mobs, players will be able to begin their adventure in the dungeon. We want to create a cohesive and engaging experience that will allow players to explore the game world and interact with a variety of different ways. So to achieve this, we've decided to combine the game with a little bit of a city building element. That will allow players to manage their own camp and unlock various resources and items that could be used in the dungeon creator or in the game itself. The city building element of the game will allow players to manage various aspects of their camp, such as the resources, buildings, and characters. Players will be able to gather resources by exploring the game world and completing quests, which they then can use to construct new buildings and upgrade existing ones. As players progress through the game and unlock new resources and buildings, they will also be able to unlock new items and assets that can be used in the dungeon creator. So this incentivizes people to play the game and gather as much as items as possible, because then they can create better and more expansive dungeons. To tie these various elements of the game together, we will use a system of progression and achievements that rewards players for completing certain tasks and challenges.